What's the biggest thing holding back your woodworking? Most people think it's their tools or techniques, but that ain't it. The real roadblock is right here. These 5 mental mistakes are silently sabotaging your projects, killing your productivity, and stealing the joy from your woodworking. And I've made every single one. One of the biggest traps beginners fall into, and honestly, I still catch myself doing this sometimes, is thinking there's only one right way to do something in woodworking. There's not. Let's take something like edge joining, for example. Now, edge joining, that's just getting one edge of your board completely straight and square so it can join up cleanly with another board. Super common, also somewhat misunderstood if you're new. But anyway, there's probably a dozen different ways you can edge join a board. Of course, there's a joiner. But what if you don't have the space or the budget for a joiner in your shop right now? What can you do? Glad you asked. One option, the track saw. Just clamp your board down, set your track along the edge you want to straighten, and make a clean cut. There you have it, perfectly straight edge. And this is actually my preferred method for edge jointing longer boards, even though I actually have a joiner in the shop. Okay, so what if you don't have a track saw? Another option is a table saw with a straight line ripping jig. Basically, you just attach your board to a sled that rides along your fence, and you're guaranteed a straight cut. To attach the board, you can use the match fit system like I use. I use it quite a bit in my shop, actually. Or you can just use double-sided tape. Okay, so now what if you're like me in my earlier days of woodworking and you don't even have a table saw? Option 3, use a router with a flush trim bit and a straight piece of MDF as a reference. Attach the MDF to your workpiece to work as a guide, and the router bit will follow it perfectly, giving you that ever sought after straight edge. Honestly, there are a number of other ways to go about it too, but I think these 3 are probably the easiest. I mean, there's the hand plane, the circular saw with a straight edge. I've even seen folks use an upside down electric hand plane. Really, probably the only tool in your shop that you can't use the edge joint is probably the lowly jigsaw. So there's never just one way to do something. Just find the method that works for you and your tools, your space, and your comfort level. Now, this one's a bit ironic given that you're watching a video right now, but hear me out. YouTube videos, mine included, are a fantastic resource for learning woodworking. I've learned a ton from YouTube University myself. But there's one problem. Watching woodworking isn't the same as doing woodworking. I'll give you a personal example. In my coffee table build, which you can check out the video here if you're interested, I tightened the clamps a bit too much during the glue up. I wasn't paying attention and I ended up with panels that weren't perfectly flat. I already knew not to tighten the clamps too much. I'd seen that advice in plenty of videos, but I did it anyway. But you know what? I won't make that mistake next time because I made the mistake myself. I felt the consequences. I had to deal with the headache of trying to fix it or the imperfect fit. The truth is, you'll learn way more from your own mistakes than you will from mine. Watching me mess up might help you avoid a few pitfalls, but there's no substitute for getting your hands dirty and figuring things out for yourself. So just get in the shop and build something. If you want a project that doesn't cost you a bunch of time or money, start with some French cleat tool holders. They're fun, they're quick, they use your imagination, and they let you try out a variety of tools and techniques. That shop time, making your own mistakes and solving your own problems is worth more than 1,000 videos. And speaking of watching videos, if you spend enough time on woodworking YouTube, you might start to think that everything in your shop has to be some elaborate, custom-built masterpiece. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Despite what you see online, you don't have to build everything yourself. Not your miter station, not your clamp racks, not every single organizational system in your shop. Sometimes buying is just better. Take my miter station, for example. It's basically just 2 tool chests that I bought and built a little stand in between them for the miter saw. Could I have built a fancy custom station? Sure. But these 2 tool chests give me a ton of storage, they're on wheels so I can move them around if I need to, and they're at exactly the right height for a comfortable miter sawing. So rather than build a station, I just used that time to build other projects I was more interested in instead. In my clamp rack over here, it's literally just 2 2x4s screwed into the studs in my wall. That's it. No fancy joinery, no elaborate design, just 2 boards that hold my clamps. Because guess what? It works. I remember when our garage was basically used for storage instead of my shop. I used to store my drill in these coat hangers we had on the wall. Well, when I finally took over the entire garage space and converted it into this palatial shop I have today, I thought, well, I guess I have to get more organized and build a drill station or something. That is, until I laid my eyes on this beauty right here. Man, when I saw that thing on Amazon, I was like, what?
What?
I didn't even know they made those things. I just thought everybody built them. Man, you talk about something that made my day, because I just really had no interest at all in building a drill station. But listen, if you enjoy building shop fixtures, by all means go for it. I mean, I just talked about building French cleat tool holders like 2 minutes ago. But don't feel like you have to build everything from scratch if you don't want to, just because you're a woodworker. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one, and sometimes that solution involves pulling out your wallet instead of your saw. One of the great things about living in the internet age is the endless amount of woodworking resources. Forums, Facebook groups, subreddits, Discord servers, all filled with folks who are passionate about the craft. But along with the helpful advice comes something a little bit less welcoming. I'm talking, of course, about the keyboard warriors. These are the self-appointed experts who are always ready to tell you what you did wrong, how you should have done it, or why your project isn't good enough. So, story time real quick. When I bought my first walnut slab a few years back, I was pretty excited. I thought it was beautiful. And I posted a picture of it on one of these forums. I thought I'd get a few comments like, nice find, or that's a beautiful slab. Instead, I got flooded with comments with people telling me I got ripped off or scammed, or anyone who pays more than 5 cents a board foot for walnut is a fool. All these comments made me go back and do some research, and it turns out they were wrong. I actually didn't overpay, and if anything, I actually got a bit of a deal. But for a brief moment, they almost had me feeling kind of bad about my project, and I hadn't even built anything yet. Here's the thing. Be careful about the builds you post online, especially if you don't have thick skin. There are a lot of people out there who are only looking to criticize, and it can end up making you get less enjoyment out of this great hobby. With each project, there's only 3 questions you need to ask yourself. Do you like the way it turned out? Is it structurally sound? And did you learn something? If you can say yes to at least 2 of those, then that's a win.
Duh. Winning.
This last one isn't about building technique or a shop setup. It's about what happens after you finish a project. And it might be the most common mistake of all. So here's the scenario. You've just finished a project. Maybe it's a bookshelf or a cutting board, whatever, it doesn't matter. You go to show it to your friend or family member, and before they can even compliment your work, you're already pointing out every flaw. See this gap right here? Or this glue line isn't quite perfect, or I really messed up on this corner here. I used to do the same thing, and I think there are a few reasons for it. First, there's perfectionism. You know how something should have turned out, and the final project fell short of that perfect image in your head. Even if the mistake is tiny or invisible to others, it sticks out like a moose in high heels to you. Second, there's imposter syndrome. This is when you fear that others will think you're less skilled than they perceive. By calling out your own mistakes, you're sort of controlling the narrative. It's like, yeah, I saw that too, so don't worry, I'm not trying to pass it off as perfect. Third, it can be a defense mechanism. Sometimes we share the flaws in our work first as a way to protect ourselves from critique. If we point it out before someone else does, it feels a little bit less painful. And finally, there's craftsman's pride. Strangely enough, pointing out flaws can come from a deep pride in your craft. You're saying, this is good, but I know I can do better. It shows you care, maybe a little bit too much, but it's a sign of your standards, not failure. But here's the truth. Most people don't see the flaws that you see. All they see is the final product, and they are impressed. Don't let that inner critic rob them, or you, of the joy of that finished piece. Because people are just impressed that you could build a thing out of wood. Because believe it or not, your skills are not common. It's like being younger than 40 years old and knowing how to drive a manual transmission. Oh man, if you can make something out of wood and drive a stick, man, you might as well be from Mars. So when someone compliments your work, just say thank you. That's it. Don't qualify it. Don't point out the flaws. Just appreciate that they like what you made. Now, if you've ever found yourself in these mental traps, you'll definitely want to check out this video about avoiding common woodworking myths that are costing you time, money, and more. All right? Y'all take it easy.